We're following some breaking news. The governor clearing records of individuals convicted of having pot. Channel 3 Stephanie Simoni is joining us right now from the newsroom with more. Stephanie.
Mark, the governor just announced thousands of people in the state convicted of cannabis possession are set to have these records cleared in January. Records in approximately 44,000 cases will be fully or partially erased. In a statement, the governor said in part, especially as Connecticut employers seek to fill hundreds of thousands of job openings, an old conviction for low-level cannabis possession should not hold someone back from pursuing their career, housing, professional and educational aspirations. People eligible for a clean slate include those who have not had any other criminal convictions for 7 or 10 years. These offenses mostly include misdemeanors and most low-level felonies. It's all part of a bill that was signed into law back in 2021. Live at the Breaking News Desk, I'm Stephanie Simoni, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.